Surya Kumar Yadav had a strike rate of 112. He was 18 of 16 balls. When he was in, I actually him getting out, I think was a disadvantage to the West Indies because of how much he was slowing down Sanju Samson to a certain extent.
Was Sahibzada Farhan's century. And the data that's out there is that if you look at all openers who scored a century, who batted at least 60 balls, so a 60 ball century as an opener, this is actually the slowest century there is. Welcome to Over and Out with me, Mustafa Siddiqui. So the semifinals are set. It'll be South Africa, New Zealand in one, and then England against India in Mumbai in the other. Let's go over both matches today. So in the dead rubber game from early this morning, South Africa comfortably beat Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe put into bat 153 for 7, a wonderful knock by Sikandar 73 of 40 odd deliveries. But South Africa chased it down fairly comfortably. You know, their top order didn't go, but that middle order has really carried them through this entire tournament. Once again, Ryan Rickelton, Brevis, and Miller taking home comfortably in the end. We did ask if South Africa were peaking too soon. I don't know if if peaking is the right word. They've just been consistent, and it's just been different match winners throughout. Could beat New Zealand. I think they will be favored in that game, but it's a one-off. Anything can happen. The pressures of a semifinal. Your thoughts on that South Africa Zimbabwe game?
Oh, I just think South Africa are still, in my opinion, with West Indies being knocked out, I think they are by far the most complete team of this tournament. Just because they have a very solid opening partnership. They have probably the most in form and deepest middle order they have. The only problem they might have is their lower batting order, but even then they're a bit fine, and they easily have the best bowling attack, I believe, in the tournament left. Like I think they had it overall. If you count every 20 teams, but if you just looking at the four teams left, they easily have the best bowling attack. And it wasn't just the middle order showing up. Tristan Stubbs has been helping them so much in that number 6, number 7 positions. And like he's really been key for them, even in the last game against West Indies. And I just think Markram is in form. De Kock is hasn't had a big score yet, which should scare the semifinals and the semifinals teams because he can just De Kock is a class batsman. He is one of the great white ball batsmen of our era. He is so explosive when he wants to be, and not get and like he's performed in India before. It's not like he hasn't performed in Asian conditions before. So him not performing yet is kind of scary, and them being this dominant still without De Kock performing as he has um is should be scary too. They would be facing New Zealand, right? So like,
Yep, they're
yeah,
playing New Zealand.
yeah. I think it's going to be this is going to be the least competitive semifinal. I think like this is going to be the lower end of the competitive ends on the semifinals.
So let's come to that second semifinal. So there was a quarterfinal eliminator basically between India and West Indies. Uh, and again, the toss was important because of the amount of dew. You could see it on TV. India won the toss, put West Indies into bat. They made one change. And West Indies actually, I think, did well to come up with 190 odd. But I think they, again, must have felt similar to Pakistan yesterday. They're about 10, 15 runs short. I think Shea Hope, he batted way too slowly in
Hmm.
patches. There were too many periods where there were 5, 6, 7 runs in and over, and they really to beat India in India, you need to, and with those short boundaries, knowing that you have to in the second innings, you needed a score of 210, 220. Having said that, it was amazing to watch Hetmeyer and Rupert Powell basically just smash the pieces of that ball.
Hmm.
And then
And Holder.
India and Jason Holder. And then in the end, India fairly comfortably, you know, an amazing innings by Sanju Samson, 97 off 40. Um, your guy Sky once again in a big game did show up, but he got enough support from Tilak Verma. Abhishek played a decent knock. Some sloppy fielding by the West Indies, but at the end of the day, I think these were the best four teams in the World Cup,
Yeah.
and they do, all of them deserve the semifinals. India continue to show the amount of depth that they have because Sanju Samson basically was an afterthought last year in the white ball format for India.
Yeah, I will push back a little bit on the Abhishek thing because Abhishek like got 10 of 11 balls, which is just like he's had one good innings this entire tournament, and that was against Zimbabwe, where like on a road where like the entire team scored 250. So like I'm not. We'll see what happens there, but like as I've said again, Surya Kumar, everyone in that lineup, Sanju Samson, 97 or 50 balls. Ishan Kishan, yes, he got 10 off 6, got out. Tilak Verma, 27 of 15. Hardik Pandya, 17 of 14. Shivam Dubey, 8 runs off 4. Surya Kumar Yadav had a strike rate of 112. He was 18 of 16 balls. When he was in, I actually him getting out, I think was a disadvantage to the West Indies because of how much he was slowing down Sanju Samson to a certain extent because he was blocking up. He was because he hit a 6 and a 4. So 10 of his 18 runs came in 2 balls, and then he was there for another 14 balls. He was chewing up balls, and I think this is going to rear its head because like he's not performed and he's batting at number 4, which we have talked about. 3, 4, and 5 are the most important in white ball cricket, with 4 and 5 being especially important in T20 cricket. And yes, I think they have enough batting quality around him where they might squeak by, but I think him being your captain and him basically being undroppable because he's your captain is going to be a bit sketchy going into the semifinals and finals, just because you will be going against England, and England, this will be in Kolkata, right? I believe
No, Mumbai. It's in
Mumbai.
Mumbai
Okay, so
again.
same thing. The Wankhede.
At the Wankhede.
At the Wankhede. And God, the like it's going to be a flat tracker. It's going to be a flat pitch. So like facing England on a flat pitch, you're going to need your entire batting lineup to be there, and it's a lot to ask, especially
No, it'll
with.
be interesting, and again, I think the toss like play an oversized role because you can see now in these last as the calendar has changed from February into March now there is Dew has a bigger outsized role now in this the stage of the competition.
Hmm, it's just it's just like we have to see what happens. I think both semifinals will be somewhat interesting. I just do think the South Africa New Zealand one can get one-sided towards South Africa, especially because they're both in Kolkata and Mumbai. So, and like as we have seen for the last couple of games, like the Indian pitches have been getting a bit flatter as the tournament has gotten on, and it is becoming very heavily batting dependent. So, I think the securedness of South Africa's batting lineup should carry them out to the final, but it's still South Africa. So, like we will have to see how they perform in clutch situations. But that's what I stand.
Yeah, this is probably South Africa's best chance to win a World Cup, and certainly with this current core group. Let's move on to Pakistan yesterday and just chew on a few other things. One of the things that's been making the rounds on the internet was Saibzada Farhan's century. And the data that's out there is that if you look at all openers who scored a century, who batted at least 60 balls, so a 60 ball century as an opener, this is actually the slowest century there is. And on average, if you bat 60 balls, you're as an opener, you're expected to make around 40 odd runs more. And the likes of some of the players in the list were basically a who's of exceptional batters, and Aaron Finch's name is in there, Phil Salt's name in there, Glenn Maxwell, of course, Ben Allen, and to me, Farhan could have batted faster, but I think that's nitpicking at best. I think this is his role. Fakhr was the one whose job it was to basically explode, and he did. He,
Mm.
scored at a 200 strike rate. To me, we didn't score enough runs because you went from 176,
For no
in
loss.
16 overs, yeah, for no loss in 16 overs down to around 212. And that's where no other batter came and basically hit sixes with enough conviction. Um, could Farhan be better? Yes, but that's always the issue with Pakistan. We just don't have explosive batters who can bat at a 200 plus strike rate. You look at Sanju Samson today, we don't have that player.
Yeah.
You
I
look
mean,
at the Hetmeyers and the Ruvman and Ruben Powell and Jason Holder. Even today, the West Indies were basically stuck, and they would have gotten 160, 170, and they basically exploded. They had a 24 run over. We don't have 24 runs overs in our arsenal.
yeah, I mean, like the only player in our setup, he's not like not part of the squad who could do that, but like he was. I don't know if he was rightfully dropped from the squad because like he did have a but I would have still taken him, but they did drop Hassan Nawaz from the squad and like because he had a couple of failures in the succession. But I do think if there was one person who is like that 200 strike rate batter who can completely change a game for us, it's him. And you kind of just dropped him when he had his first like lean patch of form right before the World Cup and brought in the same uh clowns that all that have been coming in for 4 year for straight World Cups and have basically lost you 4 straight World Cups with their slow batting.
Now, the advantage Pakistan has is they don't have another T20 World Cup now for a couple of years. The
Thank
next
you.
World Cup in South Africa is a 50 ODI World Cup,
Hmm.
which of course is not our skill set. We have no chance of winning that
Yep.
because we just don't have enough depth of talent to play 50 overs. You don't have five bowlers who can bowl 10 overs at a trot uh, with enough skill to basically prevent runs, and nor do you have enough batters who can bat that long and score enough runs. And it's a shambles on both ends. So you have 2 years now to basically make your team. And that's what they should go for, is try and find a modern, progressive team that can score at 200 runs, that does not have a middle order that basically is soft as cheese,
Hmm.
and go from there.
And also pick a middle order that actually plays in the middle order instead of playing like seven openers.
Yeah, so
Uh,
you
uh,
basically need horses for courses. You need to find players who can fit established roles. So, any other last thoughts?
uh, any last like India like it's probably I'm not saying it's their best chance to win a World Cup, but like they've already won. They just won the last. They lost won the
They're
last two
the they're the they're the current T20 and Champions Trophy holders.
Champions Trophy champions. But I think this is probably the best setup with because let's be very honest, the last two World Cups were won by the previous generation, right? Essentially,
Yep.
because with Sharma and Kohli still up. This is probably a very good shot for them, but probably not going to be their only shot. And like they should just like to a certain extent take this as a free hit almost. They're not going to treat it
Yeah.
like that, of course, but they should treat it like a free hit because there's a lot of young players in that setup. Like Abhishek is still like in his early 20s. What you call it? Uh, Krinku Singh, Shivam Dubey. These are all like young players. Even Sanju Samson, who's played like 10 years of IPL cricket, he's still like only in his early 30s at max. Ishan Kishan is always only in his mid 20s. Like these are, they
They
should,
are, but I will say something. India has so much talent that these players today will not be in the squad in 2 years. You'll have the next
Yeah.
group of players coming in. You'll have the
So
Jaiswals coming in. Shubman Gill will probably take over from Sky, and then you just they have so much talent, and you have at least two more iterations of the IPL before the
yeah.
2028 T20 World Cup to come through. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say. So if I'm a current player, this is my best chance to win something because tomorrow isn't guaranteed.
Yeah. I mean, like, and also, like, there's also this other player who was batting at like a 200 strike rate in the under 19s who was making fool, like, Survashi, who was like, who seems like a very, very, like, if there was ever a person you could point to who you thought was a generational talent from the under 19s, he seems like that player.
Yeah, so that's my point, that if you're a current player, you have to take the opportunity according to. All right, we'll do it from there. Thank you very much.